always show you a picture of a cartoon intersection. You can tell it's an intersection, and on one side of the intersection, it's a four-way stop. You can see it's a little police car, you can see it's a little fire truck, you can see it's a little ambulance, and you can tell that's a post office worker, a postal car. And it just says, shows you a picture and says, which one has the right of way? I had no idea, and I guessed right. Because I was in the ambulance, and I go, okay, you got it, my right. You know, it's like the old school, you know, boys, I was like, person on my right has the right of way. And I said, if everybody obeys that, then everybody's going to go at the same time. Because the person is right, the person is right, blah, blah, blah. So I just go, hey, the person on my right, I'm the ambulance. End up getting it right because it's a post office, it's a federal worker, they get the right of way. I think everybody's good with the school zone stuff. I haven't heard them ask it in a long time. But if you have a bus stopped, offloading kids, got the stop sign out.
Stop.
Two ways you can pass it. One is if the bus driver signals you to come around. Second one, and this is you with lights and sirens, if PD escorts you around. This is like, do you know why there's so much driving stuff on there? This is actually a good question. This is a current national registry question. What federal agency is over paramedicine?
The DOT.
The DOT. You know why we're under the DOT?
Because we follow their rules.
So what happened was in 1966, if they ask you anything about this White Paper Act, we were, basically they used to come up with, what's the ones that carry dead people? No, the cars. Hearse. They would come up on wrecks, you know, they had no seat belts and shit back then. People were dying, a lot of wrecks on the highway. And they come up with the coroners and they come up with a hearse, scoop you up and take you to the hospital. No medical treatment. If you live, you live. And they just needed a vehicle that could carry somebody. Right? That was like essentially the first vehicle ambulance. All right, in the U.S. Not on the, because they will say Napoleon invented EMS because he didn't start losing soldiers, so he's like, hey, we can treat them, then we get their ass back out there. Like, hey, you have a broken arm, we'll stitch you up. Hey, shoot the gun with the right hand now, you know, versus right hand. Anyhow, so they wrote this big paper, and that stimulated, hey, we need ambulances. We need a way to prevent this, and that started the idea of ambulances to respond to scene and provide medical care. Where you started seeing the first EMTs and paramedics, kind of in the 70s, early 70s, late 60s, and that's where you got the development of EMS started, was that paper. Well, they needed a federal agency to put it under. You'd think it'd go under Department of Health and Human Services. No. It goes under the Department of Transportation because the problem was people were dying in NBCs on the highways. All right? So it became the National Highway Traffic Safety Act or something, NHSTA. If you look under, like whenever I look for the blueprint for your book, like the table of contents, like what the publishing companies use, you know, like they call it the EMS standards, and it just gives me a broad overview so I can stimulate what I need to teach on and stuff like that. I always kind of look to that and go, okay, here are the EMS standards from 2021. That was the last copy. And it's pretty much the outline for your books. But all that is found, I go to ems.gov, and it's under the DOT's website and the NHSTA. So if they ever ask who's over it, it's the DOT. But it stemmed from people dying in wrecks on the highway. And that became the National Highway Safety Traffic Safety Act, in like 1966. They'll call it the White Paper. But it's like the origin of our business. Alright, if they ask you about the NREMT, so who licenses people to practice medicine? Alright, when you get done with this test and you get your National Registry Paramedic, are you licensed to practice medicine in the state? You have to apply for your license with DSHS, which is the Department of Safety, Health Services, something like that.
I think the answer is you meet the minimum competencies.
We use NREMT as a what Texas uses it for is we use them for their test, for a certification test. So National Registry is for certification. State is for licensing. Like if I go to Oklahoma, I have to get an Oklahoma paramedic license if I'm going to practice medicine there. People that are flight medics, like on the border, they usually have to carry licenses in both states, wherever you're going to and stuff like that. If I were to go wildland and be a true, like, not just Texas, but be a true, what we call a line medic, everything like that, every time I go to a different state, I have to essentially go through like some kind of small reciprocity process. It's a temporary. Like when I went to California, we all had to give them our license numbers, and we got temporary reciprocity in case we had to practice medicine inside the state of California. So states control licensing, National Registry does certification. Certification and license are two different processes. You have to get certified to get licensed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
I know you can't license in every state though.
You cannot.
You have to, there's like a limit, it's like a limit of 25.
Well, different states have a whole different standards.
Right, but no, I'm talking about the maximum that you
Oh.
can certify in every state. You can
Like
do
doctors can be
25.
certified in more than one state,
Yeah.
but it's very hard to do. So usually there's no reason to do so many. And if there's like it's going to be temporary stuff and you move around, they will do the temporary route.
Yeah.
But they have to vet you before you, like, they had to go through that list one by one and vet 6 different strike teams. So essentially, what's 6 times 22? 130, 132?
Yes.
They had to vet 132 Texans that were coming into California and make sure that we all had current license. And all they did is just make sure that we are currently licensed in our state.
Is that for like your Air Force One?
We were just strike teams going out there, but we were not. We were just a bunch of strike teams, not essentially a task force. But that'll come up here in a second. So National Registry certifying, all right, and then okay, let's get to the big stuff. Incident management. There could be about 8 different questions that come from this little chart.
I noticed that I had a lot of questions about CPAP.
Like what?
This was from back in like January 6th. I don't remember 100%. Because I texted one of the guys in my apartment what I seen a lot of, and I said there's probably about 20 CPAP questions.
But you don't remember?
100%. Probably like indications.
All right. So where they'll try to get you an indication and contraindicate, what would be the biggest contraindication for CPAP?
Alternate.
No, not breathing.
Alternate.
Because it's not a ventilation device, it's an oxygenation device. That's where they try to get you. So if they are apneic or a CPR, if I said CPR, it'd be automatic. You wouldn't think you even use a CPAP. But when you say apneic, it kind of just hides in there. You're not able to pay attention to it. So the big deal would be like current nausea and vomiting, because you don't want to strap a mask to them, all that. Altered mental status. Now I told you if they're unresponsive, what do you need to do for them? Bag them. All right. But the big one is the apneic. They'll try to just kind of slide that in there.
They give you like a bunch of like, really, this patient's got, let's just say asthma, and then they give you some vitals, and then they'd be like, which device would you go to?
All right. So what did I tell you? The 2 ways to tell somebody goes into respiratory failure: mental status and
Rate of breathing?
no blood pressure drop. So blood pressure drop. If they are they're trying to get you to go, hey, they're in respiratory failure, respiratory distress. If altered mental status or BP drop, like that. So if they give you a BP and they're having a respiratory issue and they're hypotensive, they're in respiratory failure, don't use a CPAP. You know what I mean? Especially don't use a CPAP in severe bronchoconstrictor. Remember we went over that? You're just going to make them worse, like the air trapping. You need to do, now BiPAP would be okay. BiPAP or bagging. But if they're altered or unresponsive, go bagging. Alright, so this is essentially them. These are easy questions, but I will say if you're a person that hasn't gone through fire academy yet, this may be a little more foreign to you, so you might need to concentrate on it a little bit more. Alright, so this is, as this gets built out, this is like your bigger incidents. You know, this could be an explosion, MCI, this could be a hurricane. This chart just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Feel like, you know, a regular wreck, you know, you may only have, you know, two facets of this. You may have IC, you may have safety, and you may have ops, which is the boots on the ground. So one of the questions is, you respond to scene, and this is how they'll trick you. You respond to scene of an MCI. You're on an ambulance, you respond to scene MCI, and they say, where do you go first? And A is going to say ambulance staging. And you're like, I'm an ambulance, I go to ambulance staging. Anytime we check on scene first, who do we check in with?
I see.
The incident command. Always. Now, that's second nature if you're fire department. Because we show up on a wreck, like, and we say, but we show up on command, and command doesn't have to be face to face. It can be over the radio. And be like, hey command, like truck 3's on scene, where you need us. And they will give you your assignment. So always command first to get your assignment. Never just go straight to ambulance staging. But that A seems very tempting for a lot of new students. Just remember, we go to incident command, that gives us our assignment. Alright, now, taking command. Let's say me and you are riding an ambulance. You're still an EMT, I'm a paramedic. I got 25 years in, you got 3 or 4 years in. Alright? And I'm a captain, and you're a basic, or a firefighter or whatever. So, give me 2 reasons. Give me actually 3 reasons why I would take command over her. Higher rank. Experience.
And you have
Seniority, same thing. Experience, seniority.
and you have higher on the
Higher level of care.
Yep.
There you go. That's something they might ask. All right. And they ask who takes command, like versus the EMT or paramedic. Say the EMT's been an EMT for 20 years, the paramedic's been a paramedic for 5 years. Them higher level of care essentially is like an outranking, and that trumps it. And they would be the one taking command.
So if someone of the lower ranking is kind of refusing to give up, or like lower level of care, lower rank is refusing to give up the command.
Are you thinking fire department?
yeah.
So put yourself in a private ambulance scenario.
That's where it was.
Don't think, because we have battalion chiefs that are still EMTs.
It was.
Yeah.
What if your partner
But
doesn't
they are,
want
essentially, they're, in your command structure, in your system, they're always going to outrank. It's
What if-
going to be a rank deal.
What if your
But
paramedic
if-
partner doesn't want to do it?
You play the what if game to death.
Mine doesn't want to do it ever.
Because Christus out there in East Texas, they allow
So I do
their
it
EMTs.
all the time.
They actually want their EMTs to take command. So-
Because the paramedics are more useful on the ground. That's your uniform. It makes sense, but on this test, it'll be the paramedic. All right. So you check in with command, that's taking command. This is your command staff, your PIO, your liaison, and your safety. All right, I always put it in this order because I think of it as please. Because every time you go to command, it's like, hey, can we please do this? You know, you talk real polite. You don't go in there barking orders. All right, so how they'll frame this question, they'll say, they'll give you one of these in the general staff and 3 of these, and they'll say which one is not part of the command staff. So you just go through your PIO, liaison, safety, and say they give you planning, and you go, okay, planning is not part of the command staff. What you got?
Well, what's PIO again?
All right, so now we'll go through the job descriptions. Just a quick overview. PIO, Public Information Officer. Their job is to disseminate information to the public that is needed. They don't need to know all what's going on in the command staff. They don't need to know major command decisions. What they need to know is what's important to them. So, I'll give you the chemical plant that used to be next door. 2010, thing blew up. It was in CNN and national news, all the other big stuff. Waxahachie was on the spotlight. All right. The PIO is in charge of telling everybody evac routes, figuring out what roads are shut down, what access roads and stuff like that, to let people know, hey, don't go down 35. We have 35 northbound and southbound shut down. Hey, we got 287, because we're right here at the major intersection of 2 major highways. So, and another thing, we emptied out nursing homes and schools right here. Parents want to know what do you think the parents are going to do? They're calling 911 steadily, flooding. Where's my kid? Where's my kid going? So they put this information out there to keep what information that public needs to know, and it keeps them from flooding the 911 banks. Because they need to know, because do you know what happens whenever you get when a system, 911 dispatch system gets overloaded?
Shuts down.
All's way.
The overload goes to a different system. So the overload goes to, like, for McKinney. If McKinney is getting flooded with calls, we're having a major incident. I'll give you an example, the Allen shooting. The Allen shooting, Dallas, McKinney, Frisco, and Plano, their dispatch were handling Allen calls because it pushes off to another system, the closest next system. So you might say, hey, my dad's having a heart attack in Allen, and they're like, Plano dispatch can help you. No, why? I didn't call Plano. It's like, we're handling the overflow for Allen because they have a shooting going on. You know what I mean? So, yeah. West would be another big one. All right. So, but the PIO is supposed to get information out to the public. They, where's the? I'm not a cop, but they use this reunification center. Where are you going to pick up your kids at? Where did we send your grandma from the nursing home and stuff like that? Your liaison is your person that everybody says they liaise. Let's say this is the command center, and let's say you're the incident commander. We have that chemical explosion. We have representatives from EAP. We have we have county police representatives. We have Waxahachie police representatives. We have federal representatives, Red Cross. We have all these different representatives in there. My job as liaison is to figure out what their objectives are and make sure they align with your objective, because you're the command. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is what PD is doing for the reunification centers, stuff like that. I keep him in touch and I make sure it's in line with what he wants. And if it's not, then I go back over here and say, hey, we can't do this. He wants you to do it this way. That's all my job is. I'm a go-between. But I am responsible to him. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you got the president and you got the chief of staff and all that. It's kind of the same deal. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of West Wing lately. All right, safety. Safety is responsible for the overall safety of the scene. They'll ask you a question about safety. They say, what power do they hold equal to command? Basically saying, like, I'm the safety officer in McKinney on C shift. What can I do what power, if we're on a fire, if we're on a major incident, all that, basically, what command can I give that is equal to command that I don't have to go through him for?
Safety problem. You can shut down any event.
I can shut down the event at any time if it becomes unsafe. I don't have to go through and say, hey, I think we need to do it. And I was like, let's just say we're working a structure fire, and we get these all the time during storms or lightning strikes. And let's say there's a reported funnel cloud on, let's say we're at El Dorado and Alma working a structure fire, and there's a reported funnel cloud coming down at El Dorado and Custer coming this way. And I'm like, hey, evac, we're covering, going to cover, get in your vehicles, cover, duck and cover, do something like that, impending, approaching weather or something like that. I can make that call without him. Does that make sense? Or if something is unsafe for us to be around outside, like, I'll give you an example. We had one of the biggest hailstorms in McKinney. It was dropping shit like this. What do you think happened right during the middle of it? Structure fire coming out. Hey, we broke so many glasses, like it felt like it was about to come through our roof, and all this other bad stuff. And so they check out, they said, and he's essentially acting like a safety officer. He said, two-story residential, nothing showing. Everybody stay in the vehicle. We'll wait till the hail stops before we get out and do a site zone, before we do a 360 or anything like that. But right now everything looks safe, but it's going to put everybody in danger to get out of their vehicles. It's just going to have to wait. That's a safety decision. But I don't have to, if I make a safety decision, I don't have to shut down operations. I don't have to go through him. Does that make sense? All right. So your general staff, and this is expandable. All right. And you're going to learn something about this one. Span of control. What is span of control?
How many people you can manage without it getting too much?
Yep. How many people you can effectively manage? This is your range.
3 to 7.
5 is your optimal. Median 5 is your average or your median. But I always think of it like this. I go, hey, there's 3 people up here. There's 5 people down here. So that at least gives me 2 of my numbers. So 3 to 7 is your range, and 5 is your optimal. So we get down here to your general staff. This is big event stuff. So finance. When they say finance, what does that mean?
What money's going to?
Say again?
So where's money's going to?
It's not the money going to.
It's the loss.
Getting like resources.
It's reimbursement. So, kind of like that, but think about it like this. Big instance. So every disaster starts local, ends local. It expands up and then contracts back down. So you think of a hurricane, all right? So, or think of a tornado. Once they get an estimate, there's always a quick push to get so for us in the county, you got an emergency management office, but essentially you have a county judge. Your county judge has to push the governor to get a state disaster declaration. They base it on the estimated loss, money loss. And they go, okay, it's met that criteria. Now, what happens whenever you get the disaster, when you get the disaster declaration is, that opens you up to the state of Texas for resources. Like, we can't call in El Paso has a kick-ass task force team. We cannot call them into Waxahachie. Now, we can call local resources, but we're not going to get East Texas, West Texas, South Texas, Central Texas resources until we get that disaster declaration by the government. That opens up the state pocketbooks, which means the state's covering the bill for those. Because there's going to be a high property damage or high estimated loss. Now, if it goes higher than that in the loss column, the governor has to push Trump to do what? Get a national disaster declaration. Once you do that, we call it you're opening up the FEMA tax book, or the FEMA pocketbooks, I don't know. You're opening up the pockets for FEMA. That means you get national resources. So like a hurricane is a great example of that, because you get a quick disaster estimate, based off the estimate, you get all the state resources, so you get state ambulance strike team, state task force 1, task force 2, all these resources heading down to the coast. Usually they gaggle in San Antonio and then they go to the coast. As soon as we hit that property loss and that loss for national, then I'm telling you, they declared it on a Thursday, and we already had 250 ambulances in our lot, because we were doing the ambulance staging management. So we were all around, we call it NRG, or the old, yeah, the stadium where the Texans play. So think about like your big parking lot outside Texas Stadium. We had a fourth of that parking lot dedicated to ambulance resources, ambuses, all this stuff to clear out nursing homes and go set that stuff. Another part was military. Another part was, we also had task force teams. As soon as it went national, the next day we had 500 ambulances show up.
Damn.
They call it the AMR contract. Essentially, it's the FEMA contract. But we got stuff from big ambulance companies in Arkansas, and but AMR was the big one. So AMR has pockets of ambulances throughout Texas and on coastal lines to deploy. Let's just say in San Angelo, they have 100 ambulances. He gives them a call and said, "Hey, they just went federal." He's like, I need you to have 100 ambulances ready to go. And they will send paramedics from Oregon to New York. They send them down there, they fly into San Angelo, they go there and they go, here's the keys, here's your ambulance, here's your narcs, you need to go to San Antonio, then you're going to Houston.
Is that for the hurricane?
Uh-huh. So, but that's what happens, but that's finance, it's the reimbursement. It's either state, local, state, or federal. Now, logistics, that's easy. That's the person in, like, we were essentially logistics for all those ambulances. What do we need to have? We need to have a place for them to park. We have a place for them to shit, shower, sleep, maintenance for their trucks, fuel. We have fuel tankers on site. We had pallets of DEF everywhere. We need things to fix the radios. We need to fix all the things to fix their stuff, but the goal is to keep them in the fight. We don't want them going down, because if they go down and we can't fix it, we send them home. Because they're useless to us, right? So our goal is to keep everybody in the fight and keep it, whatever you need. All right? Ops is you, it's boots on the ground. Planning is essentially like your emergency management office. All right? Once it expands, it becomes like, it could be the SOC, SMOC, JOC, JIC, they got all kinds of acronyms for it. But like local, your like emergency planning office in Waxahachie or in Ellis County has a IEP, which is an incident action plan pre-planned, created for every big incident that could happen. Their job is to figure out all the bad shit that could happen in Ellis County and make a plan for it. Yeah. So we have a plan for a tornado. This is Texas. All right. We have a plan for severe weather. We have a plan for a trail derailment. We have a plan for a hazmat explosion, a big hazmat incident. We do not have one for a hurricane here in Waxahachie, because what are we not on? The coast. Houston has one for a hurricane. All right? But they try to figure out everything they can. Intel is just whoever can give you intelligence. It could be what roadways are open, what roadways are shut down, where's, like, hey, we got federal resource, tells you where all the federal resources are at. They always want intel because that helps them make decisions. Like there was a levee that was going to go down in Orange, and they were going to go ahead and blast it. So they let command know, they look at the stocks, the state operations command know, and the state medical operations command, SMOC and the SOC, let them know, and then they dispatch resources to that area. They figure out what resources you need and they dispatch them. But they always need the intel. Highway 90 was flooded and shut down, so we could not send resources straight to Beaumont. We had to send them to College Station and then send them there. So they had to have enough fuel to do that, and then when they travel in strike teams, they have to travel in convoys, stay together. It's a safety issue. All right, but they might ask you, I always remember this as C floppy, FLOPI. So they might say, hey, which one's not part of the general staff? There'll be 3 of these and 1 of these. So as long as you know what's in each, PLS and floppy, you're good. Span of control, they love to ask that. All right, if they ask you about these two. What's the difference between a strike team and a resource, or a strike team and a task force?
County people involved?
Huh?
No, like county.
It's just different resources.
It's the equipment.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 5 of the same resource, it's a strike team. So we have pre-built, like, if you, y'all don't run an ambulance in Waco, right? Let's just say Waco runs an ambulance. McKinney runs an ambulance. Where do you work at?
Hutchins.
Hutchins. You have an ambulance. All right? You may not know it, but like if you decide, hey, I want to go to this hurricane, or Hutchins wants to go to hurricane, they're part of EMTF. What's going to happen is they're going to put you on a strike team from your area.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be like ST, whatever. It'll be 5 ambulances and a supervisor right here. So essentially, 5 ambulances, 5 of the same resource, you're a strike team. We had, what's 250 divided by 5? 20, 10. 50 strike teams from all over Texas before it went federal. Now, we also had strike teams of coach buses. We had strike teams of, we had 13 at the time, we had 13 ambulances. Now they have 17 or 20 ambulances in the state, which can move like 20 patients at a time. We had strike teams of a bunch of different things. So what would happen is we get a STAR request, which is the state of Texas assistance request. Like a nursing home calls and says, hey, we've been flooded, we've lost power, we need to get these patients moved out. Per their protocol, they're going to do a STAR request. Those STAR requests go through all the little channels and they end up with me. I'm dispatching from our management team area. I get a request and I look at it and it tells me whether it's urgent, like now, it delayed, or like within the next 8 hours, the next 12 hours, 24 hours. How long do they have? And so I look at it, I triage it, and the request came in and says, we have 25 patients, we need 25 ambulances. And they put the number in the name. I call them up. If I'm unclear of what they want, I call them up. I call up and I said, hey, this is so-and-so, I'm down here with ambulance station management. That deal, I said, I just received your STAR request. It says you need 25 ambulances. Yeah, we got 25 patients. I go, okay, let's figure out what exactly you need. You think you have 25 patients, you need 25 ambulances? I said, how many patients are on ventilators? None. All right, how many patients are bedbound? And she was like, 2. And I go, so the other 23 are able to walk around? Yeah. I said, is there any specialty needs? Bariatric. Do we need a bariatric ambulance? Do we need a IV pump? So they're on special medications and stuff like that. Basically, what happens is, I triaged it, and instead of sending 5 strike teams of ambulances, I go, I'm sending you 2 ambulances.
In a bus.
I'm taking you a coach bus, and we had 3 wheelchair bound. I sent 2 wheelchair vans with it. So essentially, I made a task force.
Mm-hmm.
I robbed 1 ambulance from 1 strike team, so now they're a light strike team. If you're a light strike team, you're 1 down. If you're a heavy strike team, you're 1 plus. I actually think I found 2 heavy strike teams, and I said, okay, I need 1 ambulance from each of y'all. I need this coach bus. I'm going to rob 1 from them, and then I'm going to take these 2 wheelchair vans, and I made a task force. The task force is 5 of different resources. When we went out to California for the wildfires, we were a Type 3 engine strike team. We had 5 Type 3 engines. If we were carrying a mixture of 3s and Type 6s, we would be a task force. All right. But essentially, this could be 1, 2, 3, reporting to Command 4, who can take Command 5, part of the Command Team 6, part of this 7, and then could have general and safety stopping deal 8, and then it could give you a kind of overview of a job description. You can pick one of this. So this could be 8 to 10 questions. Not saying it is. You may get 2, you may get 1. All right. Now, The other big one is MCI. So you'll be triaging in an MCI. They may give you a patient, give you the injuries, and say, triage them. That's it. Now, another one could be the lightning strike I told you about. You respond to a lightning strike at a football game. There's 10 patients on the ground. You come up to the first one, and it says they're not breathing, and they're apneic and pulseless.
Black tag.
Exactly. 3 of the answers you're going to have to try and do CPR, or respirations or something, ventilations. The other answer is black tag and move on. But that's a scenario where you're triaging without them telling you you're triaged. All right. Now, when you triage, you're going to keep it easy. RPM. Respirations. Perfusion. Mental status. Alright? We know greens and blacks. Greens are walking wounded, minor injuries. Blacks are dead. Alright? So really what we're trying to triage, red versus yellow. So another thing, when they say black tag, start triage is what National Reg uses. You know they won't say dead, right? Do you know what the terminology they use for dead? Expectant. So either they're dead or they're about to be dead. But if you black tag them, if it says you know they're black tagged and you don't see deceased, and you see something like expectant, that's essentially dead.
Expected or
Expectant. EXPECTANT. Now the other ones are just like you learned them. Immediate, delayed, and then green is like minor. So really you're just triaging the reds and the yellows. Alright? So respirations, and this is for adult. They're probably not going to ask you any PD triage questions. Respirations. Greater than 30 equals red. If you meet one of these criteria, you're red, immediate. Perfusion. Greater than 2 seconds, cap refill. Equals red. And then mental status, altered mental status, if you answer questions wrong, that equals red. How you're going to remember that is a thing called 32 can do. 30 respirations, 2 seconds cap refill, and follow commands. So if you can remember 32 can do, you can remember your RPM. I don't care if it says amputated leg. I don't care if it says blah, blah, blah. You focus on that. If they've lost a lot of blood, guess what? Their respiration is probably greater than 30. Their cap refill will be probably greater than 2 seconds. If they got a severe head injury, they'll probably have altered mental status.
So they
So
just need
all
one.
you need to do is look at those 3 things.
I just need one of those.
Now, what treatments are you allowed to do? If you were to think of what your triage bag, now triage bags have expanded. It used to be a fanny pack with triage tags, had an OPA, and some 4x4s. Now, they've expanded a little bit. Could you do a tourniquet?
Yes.
Yes. Triage is supposed to take 30 to 60 seconds. Could you do a tourniquet real quick?
Yes.
Can you sit there and babysit it? No. Stick a tourniquet on, boom. You're good. All right? Now, you may have some wound packing in there. Are you going to hold it for 3 minutes?
No.
The deal is they have to be able to hold it themselves. Pack it, give it to them, pack it, and say, here, hold pressure. All right? OPAs. Now remember, if they're pulseless, of course if they're pulseless, they're gonna be apnea. But if they're pulseless, because I ran a student, because he thought, just because he had an OPA, he thought he could, and they were apneic, he could just do an airway adjustment and do an OPA and be good. I said, if they're already pulseless, open up their airway and do shit. Yeah, but if they have a pulse and they're not breathing, yes, you can put in an OPA. You can do an quick airway adjustment. If it works, great. If not, we label them as expected. This might be where they're not dead yet, but they're about to be. All right, because I couldn't open their airway, but I can't stay there forever. I can't do a tube and here's another little trick, and I don't think they'll ask about it, but it's just good to know. Why is it important to declare an MCI as soon as possible?
Gives you the resources.
Resources and the window, and this is where abandonment goes out the window.
Yeah.
This alleviates you from any abandonment legal liability. If you declare an MCI, then you can officially abandon patients, because that's what you're doing when you're triaging. Because there's more patients than your system can handle. Now, we have 8 ambulances in McKinney. Let's say we had 6 ambulances available, and we had a wreck and we had 4 critical patients. Do we usually declare an MCI?
No, sir.
No, because our system can handle it. Now, if we had a bus wreck with 30 patients, that would be an MCI. But if our system can handle it, because they always say it's more than you can handle on your ambulance, well, shit, give me 2 criticals, that's more than I can handle on my ambulance. You know,
A green and a red.
yeah. If they ask you about, you know, you got your triage officer that's over triage, you know, you're doing that. But if they ask you about transport or ambulance staging always needs to be in the cold zone, out of the way. Any kind of staging needs to be in the cold zone, and that's where you wait for it to be dispatched inside the warm zone or hot zone or whatever. But if they ask you about the transport officer, that's the guy, it's essentially a whole team, and what their job is to call ambulance, call hospitals, see how many green, they always keep a running count of how many beds are available for critical patients. We have a little computer deal we call EM resources. I can look up anywhere in the state, any region, and say, okay, like in Collin County, I go, right now MCM they're on overload and they only have 1 critical bed available. It makes a big difference, especially if you have a shooting or something like that, like Allen. The Allen shooting, 1 hospital got overran.
Did you hear about that shooting in Massachusetts? 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Like 70 dead,
Yeah.
like 200 injured.
Really?
Someone in Massachusetts.
I can look that up. What was the country singer?
Jason Aldean.
We talked to one of the doctors, heard the doctor talk. He used to be a big doctor around here. He actually helps write y'all's book, Dr. Bledsoe. But he works in Vegas. And his hospital, he's showing us pictures of it, and it looked like a crime scene. But it's not the ambulances coming there. It's the cops or people jumping their cars and taking their buddy and going to the closest. Everybody's going to go to the closest hospital. So what we have to do is try to gain control of that and try to spread the resources out, because what's going to happen is they're going to get overran and somebody's going to die because they didn't get the right care. Does that make sense? We actually have a system in place that during MCI, after the Allen shooting, during MCI, Station 9 and Station 6 is by MCM, 9 is by Baylor. Basically, their crew, if they're not involved in the deal, their crew will go to the hospital and essentially become hospital workers to help with staffing. All right, the other big one is hazmat. You're trained as EMTs to the same level as paramedics. It is hazmat awareness level. It's like a 4-hour class. If you are a firefighter in the state of Texas, you are hazmat operations. If you elevate to the next level, you become a technician. So technician is always going to be the next level up. Like, we are rope operators, but we're not rope technicians. We have to go to those classes to get the specialty rescue like to be a rescue technician. So that's always going to be the higher level. So, big deal is they're going to ask you about zones. All right, you got your hot zone. Your hot zone is the incident. Within the hazmat world, your warm zone is decon. That is your gateway to the cold zone. Your cold zone equals IC. This is where staging is. This is where most of your resources will live, in the cold zone. We talked about it on day one, like ambulances, engines, all that, we carry binoculars. And we carry the ERG manuals, which lets us know all the identify hazards. If they ask you, what's the best way to identify hazardous material? It's always a placard. Because a placard can be seen from distance. And that's why we carry binoculars and we carry the ERG deal. All right? Here's another one. If you arrive on a hazardous material incident, where do you park?
In the cold.
Up to one end.
No, sorry.
Up.
Let's say you're first responding into it. Always upwind, uphill. So U squared. Upwind, uphill. That's the question. All right. So, again, the warm zone is your always decon. So the incident deal here, the hazardous material incident, big fire and all that, okay, there's a video, and then his truck burned up. Why did that truck burn up?
It was downhill.
It was parked downhill, and where's the hazardous materials contained? Sometimes in plastic containers. What happens to plastic when fire hits it? It melts, and then pretty much just a river of fire was heading towards it. They had their stick up, and it shows them the video, they had the air chopper up, and it shows it them running away, and that truck burned up in a matter of minutes. Now, they have been exposed to hazardous materials. They set up a decon corridor. When you go through decon, you come through there butt naked with a trash bag on. They essentially, it's like going through a car wash. You get stripped down, they get the brushes out. Now they're containing all the water because it's contaminated water that they're after you've been cleaned with it. They contaminate the water. They put it in containers and everything and ship it off and take care of it properly. But essentially, you're going through even when we used to do a hazardous, they do one out in Anniston, Alabama, where they do the CBRNE class. Yeah, so they'll wear shirts during their little MCI. It says naked. I want you to understand, you come out butt naked with a trash bag on. I'm looking at, you got a nose ring. Nose rings, earrings, all of it. Rings, watches, tongue rings, any rings, all that shit comes off. All right? Because it's contaminated material, right? So necklaces, wristlets, rings, anklets, I'm trying to think of toe rings, all that shit comes off. You're never going to see it again. So think about that when you go to work. Because it might be something that might be very important to you. If it's a family heirloom, I would say don't wear it to work because you might end up losing it because it hazmat incident. You may think that'll never happen, but hey, sometimes medical or hazmat buildings blow up and stuff like that. All right. So those guys,
What about glasses?
glasses are gone.
You get reimbursed?
Huh?
You get reimbursed?
You might. Now, I want you to know that because that's how those guys, now, they might find some scrubs or something for you to wear, but it helps eliminate the point I'm about to make here in a minute. Those guys from Ennis, they were drove home butt naked with trash bags on.
When was
They
this?
probably had scrubs from
10
the
years
hospital.
ago.
This is 2010.
Oh,
Happened when I was on
16.
shift because I was thinking, I go, that's my school.
I might know some of them.
Yeah, guarantee you do. Because I knew a lot of them. Chad Wester, the fire marshal,
Yeah.
or ex-fire marshal, you see him running from the deal. I was like, I go, oh, there's Chad. I'm watching on TV at McKinney. All right, now, I did that to eliminate two separate national registry questions. One, it says you receive a patient from the warm zone, from decon. You receive them from decon, you give them the back of the ambulance. And I don't know exactly which one it'll say. I've seen necklace, or I've seen watch, and I've seen a ring. And it says your patient is still wearing a watch, or your patient is still wearing a ring. What is going to happen now?
You all have to go through the
All do it.
con.
All have been contaminated now. So now you're all going to get butt naked and get some trash bags, and you're going to have to go through decon. Essentially, you just increase the hot zone.
Yeah.
But that ambulance is shut down. So if they can isolate it, cordon it off, and say, this ambulance is shut down, and they can escort them back through decon the reverse way, you're going to go through there, and you're out of commission. All right? That's the answer for that question. The other one is, you are sitting in the cold zone, and somebody is running to you from the hot zone. Says, what do you do? The easy answer, direct them to decon. That's it. Just direct them, point them to go there. It's not run away, or tackle, or shoot them, or anything like that. So, hey, go there. All right? All right, now another hazmat question. I need you to look at something up on your phone. For those of y'all who have not gone through Fire Academy, but you've seen this placard before. It's called NFPA 704. It is red, yellow, blue, and white. Any hazardous material has to have this placard as well. So this lets you know, so the red section, it's flammability, and it's 0 through 4. If you're looking like a diamond pattern, the top 3 have ratings of 0 through 4. 4 is going to be the worst. For the highest hazard, 0 is going to be no hazard. So flammability, the blue is health. The yellow is reactivity. All right? So you may go good with health, maybe good with fire is red. If you have trouble remembering the reactivity, write it in your parking lot study stuff. All right? But it's going to show you 4 of those placards. And it'll say which one has the highest reactivity. You pick the yellow one with the highest number. If it says the lowest reactivity, you pick the yellow one with the lowest number. It's the same for flammability, it's the same for health hazard.
Which one?
White is your specials. So like, hey, it's an oxidizer, or it reacts with water, or it's like important one-off information. But all they're going to do is show you 4 of them. 0 through 4 on those 3. They'll say which one's the highest. You just, as long as you know the color and what that is, you go, which one's the RS is reactivity or instability. All right, so you pick the yellow one with the highest number. Has everybody got, it's an easy question. All you got to do is know what the colors stand for. They're not going to ask you about the white, because the white doesn't have a number rating.
Is there gonna be any that are like, say you have red and yellow that are 4, is it one over the other?
No, it's separate categories.
Okay.
And they're going to ask you about a specific category, either flammability, health, or reactivity or instability. That one said instability. I'm not used to seeing it like that, but reactivity and instability will both be yellow. All right, the upwind uphill, 704 zones. All right, I'm bad at drawing, but this is the last little part. I only have one student come back and say this, but if they show you 4 pictures of railroad tankers, and they say which one is carrying pressurized material, it's going to be one with relief valves on the bottom. That's what it's going to look like. So if it's carrying pressurized material, it's going to have relief valves on the bottom. Now, tractor trailer, if they show you a 18-wheeler trailer, if they show you a rear view, it's going to look like Christmas trees. It's going to be pressurized cylinders stacked like that. And then that's the trailer, here's the tires. Then it'll look like a Christmas tree. Think of a bunch of oxygen cylinders stacked up like a Christmas tree. Those are pressurized cylinders. If it shows you the side view, it'll just be a long view of a bunch of pressurized cylinders, and they'll be stacked like this. Almost look like a logging truck. You'll probably see one now, like you'll say like Prax Air or something like that. Those are pressurized cylinders, and that's what it looks like.
One's railroad,
Railroad, okay.
All right.
the other one's on the freeway.
I will cover some of the beginning stuff from school, try to highlight some stuff at the end. But before we go into trauma, this is just separate acronym work. These are acronyms I need you to know. Literally, it is, what does this acronym stand for? It's a level 1 question. All right? So these are acronyms that you might run into done with ops. By the way, if it's a railroad tanker carrying pressurized stuff, they show you 4 railroad tankers, it's got the release valves at the bottom. And then if it's a tractor trailer combo, side view looks like that, back view looks like it. Think about a bunch of oxygen cylinders. Alright, so these are strict acronyms that I'm just going to give you, and I'm just going to tell you you need to look them up. Okay? I'll actually say what they are, but number 1, HIV. I've been asked that before. HIV is human immunodeficiency virus. Which leads to AIDS, which is
Human what?
human immunodeficiency. HIV and AIDS deplete your immune system. Your T cells, your killers, all that good stuff. But it's immunodeficiency virus. AIDS, you know what it stands for?
Autoimmune deficiency.
There you go. Autoimmune. What does autoimmune mean to you?
Should produce enzymes to protect against infection.
It's attacking your immune. It's attacking your body. It's attacking healthy cells. So autoimmune means it's going to be attacking your. This is essentially attacking your immune system, but it's autoimmune deficiency syndrome. But basically, you don't have the fighter cells to attack the bad stuff. What kills people with AIDS is like the common cold turns into pneumonia. And by the way, AIDS patients always pay attention to their T cell counts because their T cells are their big fighters. All right. Another one, ALS. Lou Gehrig syndrome. Guess what? They don't put Lou Gehrig syndrome on there. And by the way, I missed it the first time because I always know it as Lou Gehrig's because I'm a baseball guy. Like that. Don't anybody say what it is because I don't want you to put the wrong word in somebody's head. All right. Amyotrophic, AMYTROPHIC. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. That is ALS.
I just learned that name for it last night because there was a card in Cards Against Humanity that said Lou Gehrig syndrome, or, yeah. And one of my friends was like, oh, what's that? And I like Googled it.
By the way, if they ask you anything about an ALS patient, ALS patients end up on ventilators. Because what does it do? It takes away, it attacks your muscles. What do you have involved? Is your diaphragm muscle?
Yeah.
Yeah. They end up on vents. There's no cure for ALS. It's bad. They deteriorate. Don't know if it's going to be a slow or fast deterioration. It's like if you get diagnosed with ALS, they say, go take a trip while you're healthy with your family because you could be, like you said, on a vent inside of 6 months. All right?
I'm just jumping in.
Yeah.
Water.
There you go.
Not with it.
Another one. HIPAA. Now somebody's gonna have to do me a favor and look it up because I always mess it up. What I want to do is put 2 P's. I'm pretty sure it's 2 A's.
It's 2 A's.
Yeah. It's HIPAA. All right. Health. Did I get the first one right?
Yeah.
Information.
Insurance.
Insurance. Shit. Privacy.
Portability.
Portability, which is moving their information. Health insurance, portability, Accountability Act. It means all the things you know it means. You can't share their information. Now, can you share their information with other people that are part of the call? Yes. You talk about the information freely. Do we break HIPAA all the time? Yes. But, now if I tell you a story about an ALS patient, and I give you age, and give you that, but I don't give you name, am I breaking HIPAA?
No.
But if I give them the name,
Identifying,
yeah.
Like, you're like, they have a birthmark
address,
on their left
name,
cheek.
date of birth.
Do you have trouble remembering this? I would say know the first three. Health information portability, that means moving that information around.
Health insurance.
Health insurance. I've missed this one before. All right, the other one is EMTALA, E-M-T-A-L-A. I think I got it. Somebody look it up to make sure. I know what it does. It keeps you from dumping. So what would happen, where EMTALA came from, is basically like they say, hey, that's an EMTALA violation. Once you get on the hospital campus, that patient is theirs.
Emergency medical treatment and active labor acts.
Hmm?
Like,
No.
Emergency medical treatment and labor.
And active.
Labor.
Where's the
It's
E?
E-M-T-A-L-A.
Yeah.
They just don't add the and part.
Yeah.
So how this came about was basically
emergency medical treatment.
if you didn't have insurance, this happened in the lower income areas, and they would, a GSW or something like that, or a high gang area, all the GSWs come there, and they would have. You really need to watch like some of this old. There's a old ambulance movie with Bill Cosby in it called Mother Jugs and Speed, and it's a stupid movie, but like they would call these private ambulances people and say, hey, I got this gangbanger with gunshots, and it's like he doesn't have insurance and blah, blah, blah. We need to move him to a different hospital. And they would come, back up, push the patient in there, take him to a different hospital. No lie. Just because they didn't have insurance. So that prevents them from doing it. That's how EMTALA developed.
And anything within 200 feet from the hospital is a hospital's patient.
If it comes on the campus grounds. So if I pull into, and I had a EMTALA violation, I was doing the right thing for the patient, didn't know, and it only happens if it gets reported. I had a lady that didn't know she had chronic respiratory disease, but she was stable. And she goes, and I was used to asking everybody, I was like, well, I was working Duckville. Like, you want to go, you learn to speak their language. You know what I mean? Like, everybody refers, like, there was a hospital called MCM, Medical City McKinney. That's what we know now. But if you're 80 years old, you knew it when it was North Texas Regional. So if they say I want to go to North Texas Regional, I, as an older paramedic, I would go, okay, they just want to go to MCM. You know what I mean? Because that's what it used to be called. Well, we got used to, there's Charlton Methodist and there's Big Methodist.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say I want to go to Methodist, I'm going to Charlton.
Yeah.
And think about Methodist Central. So we're backing in. I've already called in a report. And it's like, we're backing in the ambulance bay. And she goes, this doesn't look like Methodist. And I go, wait a minute, this is Charlton Methodist. This is where you want to go. She goes, no, I want to go to the one in Dallas. And I go, shit. So I go, okay, hey, all right, start heading up to Dallas. I'll call the hospital and let them know. I called the hospital, and I said, and it was our assistant chief's girlfriend that worked at Charlton for a long time. Now they're married. But I said, hey, I was like, made a mistake. The lady, she wanted to go to Big Methodist. She's stable. She wanted to go to Big Methodist. Like, we're en route to Big Methodist now. She just didn't know which Methodist we were talking about. And she goes, you can't take her there. She goes, that patient's ours. Like, that's EMTALA violation. I go, hey, I'm doing the right thing for the patient. She got me chewed out by the assistant chief. But it's, essentially that was the EMTALA violation. If you use the helipad at a helicopter or at a hospital, let's say you work in Waco.
Corsicana does that.
Huh?
Corsicana has to do
All right. So Corsicana does it. They take them up there to the helipad, and they're going to meet PHI there, right? If that's like a safe zone where it's not EMTALA. if the hospital workers come out and just, let's just say Doc's like curious, and he opens the door and he says, hey, what do y'all got? And it's like, knows what's going on, sees the guys, he knows them, and says, hey, what do y'all got? Then essentially that becomes their patient. They have to stay in the hospital and not come out and talk to us. We had an issue like that, and the lady was, the nurse knew the ambulance guys, knew the McKinney guys, and she was coming out, and she was like, about to open the door, and the liaison comes around, so I said, don't open the door! Like, that's intolerant. That would be our patient now. So, your little safe zone is the helicopter pad.
We have one do that to us too, she just, come on.
Yeah. Now, EMTALAs, if you get reported. All right, so HIPAA, EMTALA, HIV, ALS, AIDS. I think that's about the 5 big acronyms I've seen. We went over the home medications. All right, take 5. We'll start trauma. All right, did anybody bring lunch?